start.
Got it.
There we go.
I just got a notification that it started.
Yep, there we go. All right. Very good. Thanks, Claire.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I had a little technical issue.
Yeah. We'll get started here in a few moments. We just had a little issue with the webinar, but we'll get started here momentarily. Give a few more minutes. Maybe another minute or so, and then we'll get started. Everyone's having a great Friday afternoon or potential morning.
In the southeast, they're going to be getting wet today.
It's nice and warm here.
It's kind of snowy here in Colorado.
Snowy?
Snowy, and now the sun's out. Yes, it stopped snowing and the sun's out. But still, snow on the ground, snow on the roofs.
While we're waiting, if you guys want to drop a quick note to us, kind of tell us where you guys are located. You definitely want to make this interactive. Get you guys used to using the chat feature here. As we go through this, if there's any questions or anything of that nature, you guys can throw that in the chat, and we'll try to address that along the way. All right, I guess, let's see, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be some other additional people that join. But appreciate everyone joining today. Today we're going to be talking around app layering. It's our tech workshop titled App Layering Done Right, specifically around Liquidware FlexApp. Real quick, our agenda today, we're going to be talking briefly around who we are as Zintegra, allow Liquidware to give an introduction, talking around application delivery, right? Really, how are we handling the delivery of our applications today? And that's within the images, right? What are some of the challenges that we see, customers experiencing, right? And what are some of the possible solutions? With that, we will see a demo of Liquidware FlexApp, talk about future roadmap, and then open it up to any sort of questions at the end. So very quickly, my name is Randy Price. I am a sales engineer with Zintegra. Been in the industry for around 20 plus years. Have experience with Citrix, VMware, Microsoft solutions. If you guys have ever taken advantage of any of our micro assessments, specifically on the Citrix or on the VMware side, there's a good chance that I was involved in that. Again, interests include end user computing in this space. So, which is really what brought me to Zintegra, right? It's just their passion around the end user compute space. Also have the Liquidware team on with me today. I'll let them walk through and introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Walker. I'm the field SE based in Atlanta, Georgia. I mainly specialize in Stratosphere, but I'm going to be kind of doing the introductions, and then Johnny Ma.
Yeah, Johnny Ma, systems engineer with Liquidware, covering the territory based out of Denver, Colorado. Here to show you how it's done with FlexApp.
Very good. Appreciate it, guys. So, I'll try to keep some of these slides down to a minimum. I do have a few to get through, but real quick, for those of you that are not familiar with Zintegra, just want to take a moment to talk about who we are and what value we do bring. This is Andy Whiteside. He's our founder and CEO. Andy was a Citrix sales engineer for, I believe, about 7 years. While he was in this role, Andy came to realize that at that time, the Citrix partners only really cared about being brought into customer deals and closing those deals. What they really needed was enablement around the different products and solutions they were purchasing. And at that time, the vendors were just not willing to provide this enablement. And this really frustrated Andy. And that's really why he left Citrix at that time. And that's where Zintegra was born. So in 2012, Andy founded Zintegra. And again, with his goal to enable customers, enhance that end user community, and work to form true partnerships with the various ecosystem vendors, right? All of the vendors that kind of play in that space. And today Zintegra strives to add value and enable our customers through education and training, through events such as this. We hold many different workshops. If you go out on our website and click the events tab, you'll be able to see all of the various workshops that we do host. And again, that's just part of that enablement that is part of Andy's vision for Zintegra and what we try to give back to that end user community. So today, Zintegra is a virtual end user computing reseller. We specialize or invest in our partnerships, our customers, and the community by providing carefully selected products and solutions, our expert services, along with practical training and advice as well. Zintegra works to bring all of these products together to enable a user-centric workspace. We sell, we design, we integrate the solutions that help to get technology out of the way and enhance that end user productivity and help you with your digital transformation initiatives. I think that we took a poll one time, and I know this is a crazy number, but we took a poll one time based upon all of the experience collectively. If you totaled those up within Zintegra, it was 700 and plus years of experience total that we've had in this end user compute space. So it's a great, from a customer perspective, it's a great opportunity to work with a vendor that has had a lot of experience with multiple solutions, that single point of contact. Our roots are Citrix, but our goal again is to make your end user compute solution successful. So we pull in other key focus partners to help enhance and expand your user workspace experience. That includes Agile, Microsoft Nutanix, ServiceNow, VMware. And those are just to name a few, right? We do have our strategic partners as well. These are more niche solutions that can make any end user computing deployment go from good to great, right? Zintegra handpicks these partners and embeds them where needed to really help our clients succeed along their digital transformation journey. So why Zintegra, right? Why would you choose Zintegra? We realize that you guys have many options when it comes to partners in that end user space. However, no partner will add as much value as Zintegra does. So, one thing we do ask of you is to, truly evaluate your current partner and ask yourself, what value do they truly bring? How does this partner ensure my future success, right? Does this partner only care about, getting brought in, closing a deal? At Zintegra, we're committed, right? We invest heavily into our customers and our prospects, again, by events, education, a lot of these pre-sales activities like the micro assessments and so forth. We are capable. Zintegra employs only the best of the best. We pride ourselves on getting industry experts that are really, truly passionate about your success. I kind of already mentioned the fact that collectively we have 700 plus years of experience. We're also focused, right? We're a top national Citrix and Microsoft partner. We are growing. We are, being smart and strategic about that. With that, there's no client that's too big and no client that's too small. We treat all of our customers the same. So, the Zintegra value add, that again, want to kind of hit on this. We have our webinars. Again, highly recommend you go check that out. Things such as this. We have our hands-on workshops. We have a Nutanix hands-on workshop, for example. These are very popular. I definitely recommend going and checking those out. We also have our vendor focused podcast, right? So this is a great opportunity for you to, subscribe to a podcast using whatever player that you may like to utilize, and stay up to date on what's going on in the industry, right? Whether that be Citrix, Microsoft, VMware, ServiceNow. Again, we have several of these, so definitely go check that out. You can get more information on our website around those podcasts as well. And when conferences, hopefully when those start picking back up, we do work to try to get our customers conference passes, right? So again, that's an additional value to add. And the last thing, and I hold this the last because this is something that I am responsible for and kind of hold dear to my heart, is the complimentary assessments, right? And those are the micro assessments that, if you guys have ever engaged with us on any of those, typically those provide a lot of value. So, it's typically up to a 4-hour engagement. We'll come in, look at your environment, assess it. Out of that, you'll get a SWOT analysis, listing out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And with that, it's a great way to get a roadmap, see what's going on in your environment. We do partner with Liquidware as well on these. So, I know in a moment, Chris is going to speak to Stratosphere. We can definitely use Stratosphere as part of one of these assessments, right, to gather some additional metrics. So when users are complaining around performance, what does that really mean, right? What are the metrics? So I can really clarify and see from a perspective, what is that user experience? So if that's something you guys are interested in, definitely reach out afterwards. You can either reach out to us, or we'll be following up with you as well, and seeing if that's something you guys are interested in. So next, I want to turn it over real quick to Liquidware. They're going to give an overview of their digital workspace solution.
Hey, Randy, we have an attendee with their hand raised. I don't know if it was intentional or if they actually have a question.
Oh, okay. Is there a question? If you guys have questions, you definitely can raise your hand, or if you want to throw it into the chat window, we're actually monitoring that chat window. So if there are any questions or comments, don't hesitate to put it in the chat window. We'll be monitoring that, and throughout the presentation, we can address those. So
right, thanks, Randy, and thanks Zintegra for hosting this event. My name is Chris Walker. I was a field SE for Liquidware for 10 years now. And basically what you're seeing on the screen is kind of our overview of our digital workspace management technology. So the only third-party provider outside of like the hosting providers or the virtualization providers that has kind of end-to-end diagnostics and management technology. At the top, user environment management, that's our Profile Unity solution. Allows me to elevate processes, map drives, handle the persona, shortcuts on the desktop, full environment management. And as you see in the bottom left-hand corner, that's virtual, cloud, or physical. So if you want to run an active data center, we're about the only way to do it. I want to go from Citrix to Horizon to Amazon to Azure, back to VMware, Horizon. Profile Unity is about the only way that you can actually pull that off. Physical machine, I'm sitting in the office, I go home, grab my iPad, I hit the cloud, my persona, the pictures of my kids actually show up in the cloud. Application layering right below that technology it's been around for a while. Different manufacturers have tried it and really screwed it up, the word and layering and things like that. This technology we've had for almost 5 or 6 years now. So we've gone through many iterations, and we like to call it more app attachment. So literally, a user can log in, and I can attach AutoCAD on the fly to that virtual machine. And whether it's running on Horizon or Citrix or in the cloud, I package it one time, as Johnny's going to show you. He's going to get in very deep into our application layering technology. Now, this isn't an AppV or a XenApp, or not AppV, but AppV or MSIX. This is native attachment of these applications to the system. So I, as a user, could have 1, maybe 2 images out there and service 10,000 people, all with different needs. The accounting people log in, they get their accounting apps. The engineering people log in, they get the engineering apps. Same base image, therefore smaller image management. The goal of any layering technology, number 1, to reduce the number of images that I have. Number 2, reduce the amount of downtime. So if I go on the weekend, and my engineers work over the weekend to upgrade an image, put in new applications, upgrade those applications, roll it back out Monday morning, and it's broke, what do? You have to roll the whole thing back. With this, I can just pick out the individual broken application, recompile it or repackage it, fix whatever that was wrong with the editor, and reattach it on the fly. So very unique technology that Johnny's going to show you a lot about. Then something near and dear to my heart, monitoring and diagnostics with Stratosphere Ux. This has allowed me to help keep hospitals and law firms and all kind of different companies up and running because they just sent 10,000 people home. And everybody starts complaining about Citrix. Well, guess what? It's not Citrix. It's the Wi-Fi at your house. It's the Active Directory. It's the storage. Stratosphere Ux allows me to see that first mile. So the Wi-Fi statistics, how many NICs are active, is the VPN having problems? Stratosphere allows me to diagnose that entire user experience and keep you up and running. So that's all from me, basically virtual cloud physical, allowing us to monitor, diagnose, layer applications on the fly as needed to meet your needs.
Appreciate that overview, Chris. And we're going to dive, like you said, specifically into the FlexApp solution today. We will touch base on, I think, Profile Unity as well. I like to give an overview of that just because of the integration. There's a tight integration with FlexApp and Profile Unity, so we'll talk about both of those. Before we get in, like I said, next we're going to talk about application delivery. I do have a quick poll. So let me bring that up. I just like to get some information around, who we have on today, kind of tailor it maybe to your industry, the solutions you guys are using. So I'm going to launch that. If you guys can take a few moments here and let's answer some of these questions, that would be great. We just want to figure out, what industry are you guys in? What's your application layering or deployment strategy today? What's your current desktop deployment strategy? And how many images are you having to maintain, right? So we'll give it a few moments. I'd love to get to around at least 50% participation. If I can get more than that, that would be great. I'll give it a few more minutes here. Everybody loves polls. But seriously, this is just so we can help give you, everyone came here today for, some knowledge, specifically to talk about, application delivery, some of the challenges you guys potentially are having. So, getting some insight into, where you guys are coming from, your experience is definitely going to help us to kind of tailor this.
Yep.
So.
Also helps, like the last one we did last month, we had a lot of healthcare, so we can focus more around your particular industry or hey, most people are running Citrix, so it allows Johnny to kind of focus his demonstration more and make it more relevant to you. So
Exactly. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. And let me share the results. So majority of those of you online are in financial. We got some healthcare, some education, a few other. Definitely would love to hear what industry you guys are in. If you guys want to drop that in the chat, definitely love to get some information there since I didn't have an option available for you guys to select. Again, throw that in the chat if you guys will. On application layering, it's like majority of you guys are using Citrix app layering today. Potentially some SCCM, some Intune. We've got one person using AppV or potentially MSIX. And again, other, right? So what are you guys doing? Throw that in the chat window as well. Just like to hear again what other solutions you guys potentially are using. And as far as the desktop deployment, by far, Citrix is the winner here. Got a couple of using Azure Virtual Desktop. We got one Amazon Workspaces, Nutanix Frame, and a couple of others as well. And then when we look at images, majority of you guys are using 1 to 5 images, with the other ones anywhere between, again, 5 to 10. One person put way too many, right? So quite a few there. So and that's part of the that's part of the challenge I think that we run into when we're talking around application delivery. How do we manage that, right? So
Randy, somebody brought up a good point. In your application layering section, he clicked other because none was not an option.
Good point.
Very good point there. Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. That's a good point.
Appreciate that. I'll have to add that in as an option for next time. So.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the problem, right? So again, there's a reason most of you came to this workshop today. Most likely issues with your current application delivery or image management strategy. So, when we talk about application delivery, what sort of challenges or issues are we trying to solve, right? I believe the most common issues are the fact that we're, installing apps per PC or per image, and it's really inefficient. It's time consuming, right? We typically have multiple images that we're having to maintain, and these are really based upon many different factors, one being departmental apps. These images are also based upon the underlying OS version, which multiplies that issue. Especially if we have tens to hundreds of apps that we're having to maintain, this multiplies that issue. And it's just a never-ending life cycle. We're trying to support both virtual and physical desktops, between maintaining applications, updates, and versioning. And with that, we talk about what is the solution, right? If managing these applications individually per PC, per virtual desktop, per physical desktop is inefficient, what is the solution? That's really where we start looking at separating the apps from the base image, right? If you think about it, managing the apps from the base image is more efficient. The base OS image management becomes easier, right? We have a base vanilla image. There's far less number of images required because apps are managed separately. Those base images then are able to remain clean and pristine, right? So again, a vanilla image, nothing else on it. We can work to patch those and really help to separate that, right? Versus having to have multiples of these that we're maintaining. This also allows for the potential portability of applications across various operating systems, right? So maybe I'm trying to support Windows 10, Server 2019, right? This also potentially provides that portability of applications. So, when we talk about this, who can benefit from this approach the most, right? It's really everyone, right? Especially customers that have dozens or even hundreds of applications. So, when we talk about this, there's various solutions on the market. We kind of threw up a few of these in a poll that can help to solve these challenges and provide that ability to separate the applications from the base OS. There are several players in this space, but really no one can provide the flexibility, the ease of deployment and administration as Liquidware FlexApp. And you guys are going to see that here today. And that's why they're really considered a leader in this space. Liquidware has won numerous awards, and FlexApp was also the first. Again, we use the term app layering. Maybe app attach would be, more appropriate, but app layering solution on Amazon Marketplace and Microsoft Azure Marketplace. So you guys, and you guys will see some of this when we get through it, especially those of you that answered, maybe you're using Citrix app layering, or if you had VMware app volumes or whatever it may be, right? You're going to see some of the benefits here. When I talk about, since the majority of you guys answered that you were using Citrix, right? From an app layering perspective, a lot of times app layering is included with your entitlement, but it's just the overhead, the administrative overhead and challenge, because you have to layer the base OS, you have to create a platform layer, and then the applications. The applications are directly tied to the underlying OS layer. So, we're going to talk about some of the differences between a solution such as Citrix app layering versus Liquidware FlexApp. FlexApp is an advanced feature within the Profile Unity user environment management platform. It is a fully integrated solution that can leverage your profile settings and policies that you define within Profile Unity, but it can also be implemented independent, right, of Profile Unity's core features. So maybe you already have some sort of UEM or user persona management solution in place today, and you like it and you're happy with it. Guess what? You can still use FlexApp in conjunction with that. There is some benefit to using Profile Unity. Again, being able to take advantage of those profile settings, some of the filters and so forth, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But if you are, the point to get across here, if you are using a solution already and you're happy with it, you're not looking to place it, you can still use FlexApp in those sort of use cases. FlexApp enables administrators to assign departmental level applications to groups of users. FlexApp application layering is compatible with all the major desktop virtualization platforms, right? So we had Citrix virtual apps and desktops, someone using it. VMware Horizon View, right? Microsoft ABD. We had a Nutanix Frame, for example, right? We can utilize FlexApp in all of those various platforms, as well as physical PCs. And that's really a game changer when you compare it to some of the other solutions or players in this market, which is really why FlexApp is kind of the leader in this space, right? Because we're not talking just virtual desktops. We're also talking the ability to deploy these applications to physical desktops as well. It supports virtually all application types. And it provides flexible layering options, right? So we can layer at system boot. We can layer at user login. They also have a feature called click to layer, which essentially means it allows for an icon to be displayed on the desktop for an application, but it's not actually layered into the OS until the user launches the app. Think of it being a use case where, maybe it's a departmental app and it only gets used, very infrequently, right? Instead of layering that in or mounting that, we can layer that application when it's needed. Or maybe I'm publishing applications in the Citrix environment from a server 2019, right? And I'm publishing those through Storefront. Well, now instead of having to mount those, I can do a click to layer, have the icon show up, and then present those out, right? Publish those out through Storefront. So there's a lot of different various use cases where that could come in handy. And that's something that's, again, different from your, Citrix app layering, your VMware app volumes, and so forth. What are some of the other benefits to using FlexApp? First and foremost, one thing that I always struggled with, I used to utilize Citrix app layering. Fast packaging is a huge benefit. It allows you to package those applications in the same amount of time it takes to install them. So again, if you guys have ever experienced Citrix app layering, for example, and that when it comes time to layer an application, you've got your packaging VM, you go through that process, you have to shut it down, you have to go through a finalize, where it finalizes that and compiles that layer. And that can take some time, right? With FlexApp, it literally is the amount of time it takes to install it. You guys will see that here. Now, again, if you guys are using, for example, Citrix app layering, you can use Citrix app layering to still manage the underlying operating system and bolt FlexApp on top so that you get the capability to manage the applications individually, work across multiple operating systems, and even deploy to physical desktops. So if you've taken the time to implement Citrix app layering, there's still a use case for FlexApp and a definite benefit over using Citrix app layering for the applications piece, right? So just be aware of that. The other feature or benefit is their package once, right? Being able to have a packaged application that can be deployed to any Windows operating system version that supports that app. They also have the capability to support what they call cloud apps. It's a feature where they also provide pre-packaged cloud-based applications that you can utilize. You can clone things like Google Chrome, for example. You can utilize it, you can clone it, make your own version. You'll kind of see some of that today. You can also make your own cloud-based repository of applications, right? They do support all the major cloud storage providers. So that is an option as well. They also have the capability to support session isolation. And what that means is we can have multiple users be logged into a single Citrix virtual application server, app server, hosted shared, whatever terminology you want to use. Maybe it's a Microsoft ABD server, one of your host pools. And all of those users get their own unique applications, right? Based upon, it can be based upon an AD group, so that, again, maybe your HR department gets a set of applications versus your finance department, for example. Also supports micro isolation, and that helps to resolve any sort of packaging and interactions with seamless zero file conflicts. One other thing that's mentioned here, you also get application and user rights management, right? And that's included with the Profile Unity core feature set at no additional cost. And again, I spoke to this, but I'll dive into it a little later, a little deeper, but being able to take advantage of context-aware triggers, right? Based upon users, groups, time, even the endpoint they're connecting from, to determine whether I want to layer in that application, right? All of this is delivered from a centralized management console. And again, some of the nice features is there's no database requirements, and we can utilize your existing infrastructure. And we'll talk about that more in depth when we get into the architecture of FlexApp and Profile Unity. So this is really the FlexApp layered approach. We talk about any Windows OS layer level, right? Apps are packaged individually. They can be stored on CIF shares or cloud-based storage. We assign those to users, and then we can create a desktop pool utilizing any OS and any app combination, right, to really solve, all of those various use cases within our environment. And again, we're speaking at it from a virtual desktop deployment, but this also works on your physical desktops as well. There's a few things I wanted to point out that, when we talk about FlexApp, Liquidware is constantly innovating. They're adding in new features, functionality. One of those is the FlexApp package automation. It's now available. It's a newer feature set that allows you to think of it more of a DevOps sort of scenario, right? Maybe I've got 10, or maybe I've got 100 even packages or applications that I'm looking to package. FlexApp package automation allows you to script and actually have bulk packaging of any XE, MSI, MSIX applications, right? So imagine being able to, it's Friday afternoon, I got an update to, 10 applications I need to run through. You kick that thing off before you leave for the weekend. It's just going to run. You come in Monday morning, you've already done your job, right? You've already packaged these applications. Now you can look to deploy those out. It works with any sort of published silent installation switches. And the output is turnkey. It's ready to test. They show up automatically in your inventory, and you can actually walk through the process of now, instead of having to take the time to go through the packaging piece, you can actually take more time going through testing and validating, right? Pushing that out to your UAT test groups. Another new feature. Yep.
One of the big benefits of the automation too is consistency. So, right. So I don't need to, I've got the silent switches. I run it through my automation package. It runs the exact same way every month when I package that new version of application, instead of a user having to sit there, potentially click the wrong button and corrupt the package or something like that. So a lot of customers, it's not only around the, hey, I need to package 15 apps, but it's around the consistency. I don't have to waste anybody's time, and it's done exactly the same way every single month.
You can also integrate it with third-party repositories like Chocolatey, so that when Chocolatey determines there's a new version of Chrome or whatever it is, it can kick off a sequence to actually download that new version, automatically package as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Like I said, you guys are constantly innovating. Compared to some of these other solutions, this is definitely a game changer as well. So, one of the other new exciting features that UCAS came out with, definitely wanted to point out, was FlexApp 1, right? So imagine being able to now, layer or create a self-contained executable that contains your application, right? So, having the ability to distribute this live, no reboot needed, and be able to really distribute it however you want, right? Whether that be through one of these enterprise file share services, something like a OneDrive or a Dropbox, whatever it may be, being able to publish that out through something like Intune, right? So you can assign it to this application to your users through Intune, for example. Maybe I put it on a USB stick, right? Hand it to a user, tell them to execute. Basically the point here is now we can take an application, layer it into a single executable. There's no player that's needed to actually execute and run this, and give them the ability to execute this application. So this is good for those offline sort of use cases. And one thing to kind of point out here is down at the bottom, we have listed application expiration. So imagine you've got a contractor, they need access to a specific application. Maybe they're only working for the for you as a customer for maybe 30 days, right? You can put an expiration on the FlexApp 1 package. So when you deliver that executable to that contractor, they're able to execute and use that application. And then after that time period, the application just becomes unresponsive, right? It essentially expires. So again, this is kind of leading first in the industry, specifically around application, again, layering / attach. So definitely check that out as well. And we're going to see that, I think, as well during the demo. So we can talk about that. One thing to call out, we want to talk about when to use FlexApp versus FlexApp 1. And it really comes down to, offline, right? Are we looking to distribute, applications through, again, maybe Intune? Are we looking to work offline? Do we want to share these apps by any means necessary, right? No prerequisites required. Yeah, that's the FlexApp 1. If we're needing to leverage, Profile Unity, for example, for, application rights management, or maybe want to keep track of the Flex apps that's been distributed, that's where we would typically lean on the traditional FlexApp model. Just know that this is there. It's another potential use case, a way to utilize FlexApp. So, when we look at FlexApp, we can see there's several potential use cases or benefits when using Liquidware solution for application delivery. Those include things like the simplifying application management, supporting non-persistent desktops, business continuity, simplifying the base image management. There's many, many different potential use cases where FlexApp can provide, definitely a benefit to your environment, especially from a management administration standpoint. One thing Liquidware also, I want to kind of point out, they do a good job of maintaining a community site. Here you can go get information around discussions, recommended practices for various applications, recipes. And I point that out, but I do want to say one thing. I think Chris has brought it up in the past, the fact that, if you go out on Citrix's site and look, and I've been picking on them today, but mainly because we got a lot of Citrix people on the line. If you guys have had any experience with Citrix app layering, they maintain a repository of recipes. If you go on Liquidware and look at their community site, you're not going to see as many recipes there. And that's because they've done a lot of extensive testing. A lot of these apps just work. So your success rate and compatibility is much higher with Liquidware versus Citrix app layering. So just know that. One other thing I want to point out, Liquidware also provides, for those of you that are using FSLogix for your profile management, Liquidware also provides a free VHDX compacting tool to shrink those VHDs. It works with their profile disk technology, which we can talk about here in a moment, and even FSLogix, right? So if you guys are maintaining that today, definitely go check that out. It's a great utility. It's something they provide, again, part of their giving back to the end user community. So let's take a look at the FlexApp architecture. I kind of talked earlier, it utilizes the same architecture as Profile Unity. For our on-prem deployments, it does run as a standalone system, or we can utilize our existing infrastructure, right? What do we mean by that is we can deploy this using your integrated or your netlog on share that's already there. The agent configuration files are hosted on that netlog on share, and it's replicated, right? And the reason they do that is because it's already there, it's highly available, it's replicated throughout the environment. But it also supports the capability to deploy on an enterprise share if you have that as well. There's also no proprietary databases that are used for user profiles or data. There's a lightweight client that installs the endpoints. It's very easy to deploy, no downtime required. So, that is the underlying architecture. It does work. So one thing to point out, it is the only cloud native user management system. It's really leading that market. You can utilize your whatever cloud storage provider that you have and be able to deliver profiles, from their object-based cloud service, whether that's Amazon, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure Blob Storage. You can utilize those to save your user profiles and your policy settings if you guys are deploying that in the cloud. So just realize that as well. Profile Unity support of cloud storage is seamless. It's fully integrated into the solution. There's no downtime required for that integration. There's API level integration with those providers to allow you to perform actions like transitioning user profile securely at logoff, for example, right? Or maybe you want to copy their profiles in the background during their user session from on-prem to cloud, right? And stage those there. So when the users log in, maybe you're going through a deployment to Azure Virtual Desktop. Imagine having the capability to replicate or stage your profiles in Azure so that when users log into Azure Virtual Desktop, they're going to get that same look and feel, right? You also have the capability to do the same for any sort of user-created data, things like My Documents, pictures, right? They can also be set to automatically transfer in the background. What this helps to provide is, or ensure is that our user data is always secure and available wherever the users have access, right? So we can perform that synchronization in the background. And again, I kind of already spoke to the fact that you don't have to use Profile Unity with FlexApp if you're happy with, if you have a user persona management or user environment management system in place today. However, there is some benefits. It is a feature-rich user persona management platform, works for both virtual and physical desktops. Profile Unity decouples the user profile settings and data from the underlying operating system, much like FlexApp decouples the applications. And what that helps to prevent is that never-ending user migration lifecycle management of having to migrate to the latest operating system, right? Maybe you got multiple operating systems, Windows 10, Windows 2019. Maybe you're looking to upgrade. Maybe you're deploying Windows 11. Whatever it may be. Having that user migration lifecycle, right, helps to end that, right? So because now we can take those profiles and make those portable. And again, being able to support all the major platforms, your Citrix, your Microsoft ABD, VMware Horizon, Nutanix Frame, all of the above, right? Again, Profile Unity utilizes the same lightweight agent. There's no complex software package that you have to install to be able to deploy on your endpoints. It also separately stores and dynamically applies these user profiles and configurations and our layered applications to the underlying Windows OS in seconds at login times, allowing you guys to be more flexible than ever, right? And I kind of already talked about the fact that they're extremely portable across operating systems. So, if you got a mixture or hybrid approach of operating systems you guys are supporting in your environment, definitely need to look at Profile Unity and their portability. You can even use it. I kind of spoke FSLogix earlier. If you guys are using FSLogix, you guys have an FSLogix profile disk for each operating system. Profile Unity can even hydrate those profiles, those FSLogix VHDs, right? So there's definitely a lot of benefits to using Profile Unity. So again, this is my last slide, I promise, before I can jump into the demo, but want to kind of talk through a couple of these. The key advantages of Profile Unity: centralized dynamic user profile and app management, being able to retain profiles in native Windows formats, keeps them backward and forward compatible, especially across multiple Windows versions, right? Does include applications rights management, right, at no additional cost. Imagining being able to elevate privileges for select users so they can install applications, or maybe you want to restrict users from running specific applications in your base image. You can do that with Profile Unity. Also, the context-aware filters, right? These give you granular control of how the configurations are applied. And I'm pretty sure Johnny will probably show this in the demo, but you can apply configurations based upon hundreds of different criteria with a single filter, or you can stack these on top of each other. So imagine, maybe I want to only layer in, maybe I have a virtual desktop that you're presenting to your users, right? Maybe I only want to layer in the finance application if their endpoint is connecting from the internal network on Monday afternoons, for this specific group. You can do that, right? So that is one of the benefits of their context-aware filters. And again, those work, Profile Unity works across the mixed operating system, and it supports, again, but just like FlexApp, right? Your virtual, your cloud-based workspaces, and physical machines. Okay, wanted to kind of get that out of the way. I know that was a lot of information. I definitely think that was kind of, want to kind of give that overview, if you will, around FlexApp and Profile Unity. I'm going to turn it over to, we'll stop sharing. I'm going to turn it over to Johnny so that he can actually give us a demo.
Yep. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah. There we go.
1 second here. There we go.
If you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat.
Everybody can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So hi guys, this is Johnny Ma speaking again. System engineer with Liquidware, also multiple times Citrix CTA, just as the CTP folks are in the world, do provide a lot of private feedback to Citrix on directions of things like that. So if we look at my demo system here, we have lots and lots of interesting information here. So regardless if you own Profile Unity, you own FlexApp, you own both, at the end of the day, you're going to have a Profile Unity server. Profile Unity server, the purpose here is to actually build the configurations, do the assignments, create those filters so that we can deliver applications, manage our persona management features, and also, map those drives, inject those registry keys, and do those types of functions like that. So when you have your Profile Unity server up and running in your world, you can have as many configs as you truly need to. There's no additional cost to have 10 configs if you actually want to and need to. So you can tailor the configs as far as you need to tailor those configs, right? So in our case here, we're going to primarily look at 2 configs. I have a portability and a user FlexApp config, and I also have a system FlexApp config. So I have a machine, when it boots, it'll actually pick up a handful of applications and attach those on boot. And then when the user logs in based on the group memberships, it will actually come in and attach various layers on a user basis. So if we take a brief look at Profile Unity as a whole, we have a very large amount of modules in here. There's nothing that's required to turn on every single one of these features. Use Profile Unity as far as you need to use Profile Unity. We have a guided configuration that does pre-stage and pre-configure a bunch of items for you, like portability, folder redirection, and some registry items, and things like that. It just gives you a good, strong point to start with. Take the guided config, run it through, and then add whatever items you would need to tailor it towards your environment. And you'd be off and rolling with the full featured UEM functions that exist inside of Profile Unity. So if I look through here, I have some things for privilege elevation. I have my FlexApp assignments. I have virtual disks that I like to mount for my Outlook caching, my Teams caching, my OneDrive caching, etc. I have portability rule sets. I have some scripts that are being run and, registry items. And, once you've done and you're good and you built that config, you hit the update button, drop the config out on your share. And then when your client boots up, logs in, and your users log in, it'll actually pick up those configs and you'll be off and rolling. So if we look at our shares, right, we talked about our net logon share. The reason why we deploy stuff on the net logon share, it is actually the most highly available share that you would have in your environment, right? Every domain controller has a net logon share. So it means every domain controller has a copy of our client, has a copy of our configuration. And regardless of where you are and how many domain controllers may or may not have answered the request, we'll be able to log in, process our transactions, load our profiles, and attach our applications. So if we look at our client looks like this. It's some executables out here. It's very lightweight. And then based on the client, we actually have configurations that run either on a system basis, like we're going to talk about. That's where you would do like machine-based boot layering. And then there's also user configuration layering as well. So if we look at, how portability operates and how portability stores things, we actually archive all of the individual segments of the profile out. So we're doing an on-demand decompression and recompression into a 7Z file for the various archives that are pre-configured out here. So when folks log in, it'll actually pull the individual archives into the system. And then when they log out on the fly, it will check to see if any changes were made to those distinct locations of the profile. And if there are, it will actually on the fly 7Z compress them and send them back to the share. It could also be sent from your share or into cloud object native storage. So if you want to do Azure Blob, AWS S3s, or GCP buckets, fantastic. It's all supported and it all works. So if we look at application layering perspective, a lot of folks that deployed Citrix app layering, the main gripe they have is it's slow. App layering is slow. And that's the main gripe they have. I need to update my Microsoft Office, but it takes 20 minutes before I have a place where I can actually suck down those Windows updates. So how we differentiate ourselves significantly is that we don't care about layering the operating system. So if you're familiar with Citrix app layering, the enterprise layering manager appliance, you have to layer an operating system. So I'm going to stick my Windows 10 ISO, boot up a VM, capture it, have it absorbed into the ELM appliance. And then I'm going to tell the ELM appliance that now I need a platform layer. And then it spits me out a VM. I install my VDAs and my other components there. It absorbs it back into the appliance. And then I'm at a point where I can actually install an application layer where it basically crunches together an operating system, kicks me out of VM for me to install my Microsoft Office. So we differentiate ourselves significantly because all we really do is we capture the guts of the application and we store it as a VHDX. So the VHDX can live on-prem on a CIF share. It can live in cloud object native storage on Azure Blob, AWS S3, and GCP cloud buckets as the same. You can actually use the FlexApp packaging console where we do the packaging to automatically copy those to the cloud so that you can have it as a secondary location so that when your Citrix use case goes from on-prem to the cloud, we have to repackage anything. Same stuff that shows up today on-prem shows up in the cloud. You can go cloud to cloud, and then you can go back from cloud to on-prem. However you are and wherever you are on your journey to the cloud, we're ready there. We are there to help you out to make sure that the users have the same experience as they need. So let's walk through capturing an application. So I have a FlexApp packaging console. We call it an FPC. The FPC is a very, very, very generic vanilla looking operating system. In this case, it's Server 2019. It could be on the domain, it could be off the domain. If you have a requirement for it to be on the domain, we ask for you to not have things like SCCM push packages or have antivirus automatically updating in the background, because when you kick off that capture process and those types of things happen in the background, most definitely will capture those segments as well. So you can have a very, very large packages just because Windows updates was kicking off in the background or antivirus clients were being updated and those types of things like that. We can also package offline, meaning I'm going to do having my FlexApp packaging console off the domain, and I'm going to package locally. It does add a minor extra step there. I have to transfer my VHDX over to my normal share that everybody's going to pull the FlexApps from and have to re-import them into inventory so that we're off and rolling and we can make stuff happen there. So we actually do live demos of capturing just to show you how fast it is. And on this machine, let's just take a peek right here before we do any installation of anything, just to see. So there's really minimal amount of applications out here. We have some runtime things, our C++s, our .NETs, and those types of things like that. We have some browsers just because we have to have browsers. And we have our FlexApp packaging console software out here. So our FlexApp packaging console software does integrate directly into Profile Unity, just as FlexApp in general integrates into Profile Unity. And this integration allows us to automatically import into inventory so the applications that we capture are deployable. So I'm going to log into my FlexApp packaging console here. And you're going to see I have a handful of applications that are already out here. And we're actually going to build a new one. So, building a new one is very easy. It's just as easy as clicking this create button, filling out some very basic information. So in this case, I am going to capture Notepad++. I do need to store it in a location. Can't type. And that's basically it. So if I'm packaging on-prem, where is my share for my FlexApps going to live? I can package directly to the cloud. I can package local to the Z drive, just have the VHDXs outputted into a folder on the Z drive, copy them where I need to copy them, and to make it happen. You also notice that the storage size here, I can dictate that. I can make it 1, I can make it 20, I can make it something in between. If you make it 20, which you can make it 20 for every single package, just as long as you make it expandable, will be thin provisioned, because you have expandable and you have fixed. Traditionally, it's always recommended to just be expandable so that all of our VHDXs are thin provisioned. So when I hit this create button here, it's going to create me an empty VHD, and it's going to make it ready so that I can capture when I need to capture. So I'm going to come out to my software share. I'm just going to copy a local copy of Notepad++ so that I can run the installer. And the moment I click the start button, I'm actually recording the C drive and I'm recording the registry. So it'll tell me we're already recording, and I'm just going to run through my installation as I normally would run through the installation. So I'm going to get a UAC prompt. We're going to click through that. And, you know, Notepad++, next, finish. Pick whatever options you need to pick, customize them as you need to customize them. Otherwise, it is a next, finish here. So once I click that finish button, I'm going to have an application in my start menu, and I can load the application. I can make sure it functions correctly if there isn't any like big gnarly errors that I need to address. And when I'm satisfied with that package, I can just close that package and hit the finish button. If I have a package that requires a multi-step reboot, I can actually kick off the reboot from this button. It will reboot, and then it will reinitialize the FlexApp packaging console and remount the VHD so that you can continue the installation. So I'm just, in this case here, I'm just going to click the nice finish button here. It'll actually make sure that the VHD is unmountable and remountable, and that everything is cool with the packaging that we just did. So it says it's successful. We make sure that all of the unmounting and all that fun stuff happens, and we just hit the save button. When I hit the save button, it comes and pops up in my inventory. I can come in here and I can edit the package. Let's just say, you know, I had a desktop shortcut that I don't want to have on the package. I can come in here and I can edit the shortcuts. I can disable services, disable scheduled tasks, delete segments of the registry, whatever I need to do. I'm just mounting the package and modifying the requisite pieces that I have here without necessarily have to, you know, load up the package again and run through the installer because I messed something up. So I can hit the cancel button because we didn't actually make any changes. It'll unmount the VHD and we'll be ready there. And if I needed to extend the installer, like add extra pieces to it, I can actually remount it, and then I can add in like plugins for Notepad++ if I truly wanted to.
Hey, Johnny, the editor piece, that's unique to you guys, right? I know back in the day when I was administering, you know, or using Citrix app layering, you know, it was a pain. You forget something, you've got to go back to that entire process again. So the fact that you guys have an editor and that you can actually go in and edit this without having to repackage, it's pretty neat.
So in addition to that, you know, if I have a package that's in use, it's out there and there are users reading my package, I won't be able to edit the package, right? But I can actually kick off a clone of the package. So if I had folks consuming my Notepad++, which I can't spell apparently because I have too many D's in there, I can clone the package and it'll duplicate the VHDX. I can make the requisite changes to it, and then all I need to do is swap it out on the Profile Unity configuration, and we're off and rolling. So now that I have an app packaged here, I can actually come in here and do an assignment, right? So I'm actually going to assign this application to myself so that we can just walk through using it. So in this case, as we talked about earlier, click to layer. Click to layer is where we just create shortcuts, the normal shortcuts that show up on the desktop and show up in the start menu. And we're not actually attaching the VHD and mounting the VHD on that user session until they launch that application. There is a penalty of them doing it this way because you'll see a dialog box where it says, please wait while we attach the application for you. But this is for like the use cases where it's like on month end or quarter end, the folks have the application that they actually use at that time. But during the periods of non-month end or non-quarter end, I want to have the application available just in case they need to look something up. I'm at the nice little save button here. And in this case, I'm not going to have a filter. I can put all kinds of filters in here. We'll actually walk through the filters before we log into the system. So I'm going to hit the update button. And now after I updated the application in there, I need to drop the config out there so that on the next login, I pick up the new application sets. Okay. So in terms of filters, lots and lots and lots of filterable items, operating system filters, machine name, machine group, user group, IP address, client IP address, all kinds of rules you can set up here, and you can stack them. So you can say, user belongs to group Citrix, coming from IP address 10.10.0.x, coming from client names, East Wing Hospital or something like that. You can stack all those filters in whatever context you would like, and it could be as granular as you like, just like that. And I can use these types of filters for registry entries, drive mappings, printer mappings, flex apps, whatever it may be at the end of the day. So in this case here, my INI file is deployed out there. So on the next login, I should pick up the Notepad++. So I have a machine. It's been booted for a while here. And what the booting that should have done for us is we have system-based machine layering. So I have a handful of applications that attach to this machine on boot. And then I'm coming in and I should get my Notepad++ and my WinSCPs and all those little fun guys that I added as a user-based layer. Give it a second here. These things will start popping into our world.
Johnny, one of the questions in chat was about what's the performance difference baking it into the base image? Noticing that, with FlexApp, I can store it on a data store. I can store it on a SIF share or an S3 bucket or blob storage. What is the difference in performance versus just like baking it in the base image?
So in terms of application performance as a whole, it is identical. Our applications are 100% native when they attach and mount the VHDs. There is a few milliseconds of penalty on the login time that may occur if you're attaching a lot of Flex apps on a user basis, because it needs to kind of roll those things on the fly. But application performance as a whole should be native, very native.
And I used to get a lot of questions too around, hey, data stores could be a lot faster than my 10 gig Ethernet network, right? Well, no. So we actually recommend, for most customers, for simplicity, is mount the VHD off of a SIF share, and then actually the more people that use it, the more that machine is going to cache it, and it actually gets faster.
Yep.
The data store just adds in complexity. I have to bring in virtual center into there versus a SIF share. It's just a mount, right?
We're gonna cover roadmap items too. There's things that are coming down the road for like pre-caching. So if you have applications that are very loud and very noisy, like AutoCAD that needs to load a whole bunch of things in the world, coming in a future version of FlexApp is the ability to pre-cache those bits that take time to cache, right? We can actually pre-cache them so that when it becomes attached, those bits are already there. So if I look at my disk management on this system here, I have a whole bunch of system layering that happened. I have my browsers, I have my 7-zips, and I have my open offices and whatnots. I have other applications that were assigned to me on a user basis, like Google Earth and the WinSCPs and the putties. So you'll notice inside of here, I have a Notepad++, but you'll notice inside of here, there is no Notepad++ VHD that's being mounted. And that's because we told it to do click to layer. So when I launch this application, you'll see a dialog box right here. This is FlexApp just delivering your application. And that, that small dialog box is where it was actually doing that mounting of the VHD on the fly for the user. So the Notepad++ shows up here. I can type all kinds of fun stuff in here. I can make it all happen. And if I come out to my disk management, I will see the Notepad++ as a mounted VHD now on the system. Earlier it was not, now it is. Everything is great. So yeah, that's the basic configuration of FlexApp. We walk
Hey,
through how
Johnny.
fast we can capture. Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Johnny, we got a question. So, question was, you put Notepad++ in one package. Can you put multiple apps into a single package?
You can, most definitely. If you feel inclined to, you can create a department layer. You can create a layer called the big app. We have an SE in our team that puts like 70 odd applications in one just to see how it handles. Logistically, it's however you like to carve them out. If you want to have, multiple layers, multiple applications in a layer, departmental layers, it's however you need to roll it.
And somebody also asked, how does it take up drive letters?
It does
How
not
many
take
can-
drive letters.
And how many packages can we mount, and realistically should we mount?
So I think the physical limitation is like 2,000. If you have anybody that actually has 2,000 or 1,000 or like 500, I would like to see and talk to those folks, because most of the time on a far end use case, it's like 30, 40 at a max that I've ever seen. But yeah, there is no drive letter consumption. We're just purely mounting those drives. They're not writable from the user perspective. They just show up, bolt onto the system, and the applications are there natively. So let's talk about automation, right? Randy glanced over automation. Automation is our engine to gain back time in our day, right? So the intent of automation is to cover those, 75 to 80% of applications that are the easy applications. These applications have the published install switches, have the silent install configuration, and those types of things like that. While these applications, they're easy, they're next, finish. As an administrator, as a system engineer, it takes time because I still have to fire through each of those applications, click next, finish, hit save button, fire up another one, rinse and repeat. So if we can automate those, we can recover all those time, and we can focus our time on the last, 25, 30% of applications that are the more complex ones. So, I wouldn't necessarily suggest or recommend potentially that you send things super complex applications like SAP and those types of things through a FlexApp package automation. You can try it. There's nothing that stops us from doing it. That you just need to figure out all the little nuances of those applications. But with FlexApp packaging automation, we're here to conquer like the Notepad++, the putties, the Chromes, and those types of applications that exist in our world. So it's as simple as editing one file. So it's a packages file.json. Most people see this JSON extension, they kind of freak out because it's not a normal file extension, but logistically, it's not that scary. It's a couple of lines that we really have to fill out here. We fill out name, we fill out size on disk, we fill out path to installer. And yes, in JSON, it does do a double slash for all the path segments. And then we fill out our silent install switch. So once we have that going there, we have a defaults.json. The defaults.json basically just talks about where is my profile unity configuration? Where is my primary control node for automation? And all of these hashes are hashes of the username and password, so nothing stored in plain text where security folks like to yell at us for things like that. So once I'm satisfied with that, and as we talked about, our package file can be hundreds long, thousands long. If I have hundreds or thousands, I may want to have more than one node, one agent, one drone that does packaging for me so that the workload gets spread out and I'm not waiting in line for 1,000 applications to package and we're just spread out like that. So when I'm satisfied with that, all I really need to do is execute this PowerShell. This PowerShell will call my defaults and will call my packages file and will kick off layering. Even before that, we can actually check the status of our packaging automation agent, making sure it's available and nothing's strange happening to it where it's busy, or incommunicado where it didn't pull an IP address or those types of things like that. So just run this guy with PowerShell and we'll see the pendings and the runnings and the successfuls and the failures. And there now it says we're layering Notepad++. It's going to roll its way through, run Notepad++. When it's done, it'll actually system restore to a clean state. It uses Windows System Restore to roll it back all the way to a clean state on this packaging automation agent. I don't have to log in here. I don't have to do anything. It's just going to automatically go through there and layer for me. Give it a second, this will actually become successful and it'll actually automatically import into inventory so that the application is deployable. One successful, nothing failed, everything is happy. So now if I come back over to my Profile Unity Management Console and pop over to inventory, I have the FlexApp that we captured for Notepad++ with my misspelling from earlier. That's in my inventory already. I also have the one that FlexApp Packaging Automation did as well. I differentiate that because I dump it into a folder called FlexApp Packaging Automation Apps. And I can come in here just as earlier, assign it to my users, and next login, next server boot, whatever it may be, they'll pick up the new application and they'll be off and ready. All right, let's talk about FlexApp 1. So FlexApp 1 does require us to have FlexApps in order to convert the FlexApps into FlexApp 1s. So in a future version of the FlexApp packaging console, during our initial packaging that we do for an application, there'll be a checkbox that automatically bundles us a FlexApp 1 application as well. Currently, right now, that it's a secondary process. So basically, when you download FlexApp 1, you'll get a zip file. A zip file will in here have all our scripts. We'll have our bundler executables and engines and these types of things like that. So we highly recommend using things like Microsoft Intune, SCCM, Workspace ONE, those types of things to pre-deploy our service. There is a service that runs for FlexApp 1 to function correctly. It is our same service that we use for FlexApp. It's the VertFS service. It's the container service that we have. It's just a different version of it. So it allows us to run FlexApp 1 offline, independent of actually Profile Unity and those types of things like that. Because I do find a lot of folks in the world, they always ask the question, I don't necessarily want Profile Unity. I don't necessarily want FlexApp. I just want a mechanism to deliver applications. FlexApp 1 gives you the benefits of IT centrally managing FlexApps as they normally would. You're just going to add an extra command to actually convert the FlexApp package into a FlexApp 1. You wrap it into an executable with our service. And if you already have the service deployed for folks, because the service installation does require administrative privileges, all you really need to do is sync those packages, those executables to folks through like the Dropboxes, the Google Drives, the OneDrives, whatever it may be at the end of the day. So I have a sample bundle command. Basically, I'm just going to convert over one of my 7-zip FlexApp here. So all I really need to do is kick off PowerShell. Sorry. So just dropping this command here. I'm pointing at the folder that I'm storing my 7-zip FlexApp in. Kick off that, and we get an output that says bundle process was completed successfully. Great. So all I really need to do is come out here, and I'm going to go to my FlexApp folder for 7-zip, and I have 4 files in here, while normally I would have 3 files in here, right? Actually, this one has a compact file because I was using their disk compactor against it, but yes. Let's find another one. And like Notepad, I have 3 files in here. I have an icon file, I have a metadata file, and I have a VHDX. So for 7-zip, I have an executable as well. So I'm actually going to transfer this executable to a different share. More than anything else, it's just for cleanliness purposes in my demo area. So I have this available. I'm going to come out to my FlexApp 1 demo machine. So this machine has nothing on it. There's no Profile Unity. There's no FlexApp. There's no even FlexApp 1 service. So you'll find that, if I come out here and let's just say I copy this package, normally you wouldn't necessarily copy the package from a file share. You use your OneDrives and your Google Drives and whatnots to sync them over. When I try to run this FlexApp application, this FlexApp 1 application, it'll tell me there's no service on here, and it does require administrative privileges to install. Since I'm an admin, I'm going to click the yes button. And when the service gets installed, the application will run automatically. There we go. That was successful. FlexApp 1 is running. It's coming directly local to this machine. And to prove that we're not actually talking back on the network or anything like that, I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to pull the NIC from it. So if I'm this basically showing that we're, if we're like a laptop user, I took the machine off the network, I jumped on an airplane, I can still run my applications as I need to run my applications. So yeah.
Johnny, all the file associations would have come in with that as well?
Yep, everything is exactly the same that you would have set when you did the FlexApp capturing. All the FlexApp, all the file type associations, whatever you need are already there. Are there any general questions? Otherwise, back to you.
Someone asked, is FlexApp 1 licensed separately?
FlexApp 1, there is a separate license file. When you own FlexApp, you are actually given FlexApp 1 as well. So there's no additional cost for this functionality to allow folks to do laptop use cases, offline use cases.
Someone asked, I'm using UPM. Do I need Profile Unity or can I buy just FlexApp?
You can buy just FlexApp. There is a SKU for that. Just buy it by itself. And then you can continue to use your own persona management while using our application delivery mechanism.
They also ask pricing, how's it licensed? Not really the cost.
Everything's licensed on a per user basis, either a named user or in concurrency, depending on your scenario, right? Traditionally, we tell folks that we follow the Horizon or Citrix license schema. So if they are concurrency in those realms, they are concurrency for a reason because they do shift work. We traditionally want to follow suit in there so that we give folks the most bang for the buck that they have when they make their capital expenditures. In terms of price, if there are semantics and those types of things like that, feel free to reach out to the Zintegra folks or find your Liquidware reps, and we can talk about pricing for the individual pieces or the suite license that we have.
Hey, Johnny, we had a question come in. What is the experience speed when you have multiple apps assigned per user? Meaning, how long would it take to mount when a user logs in?
We saw earlier, I just logged into this machine. I have all these applications that were delivered as a system layer, and I have, in this case, 6 applications that were delivered on my user basis. So I mounted 6 VHDs on the fly off of my network share on this virtual machine that lives right here. We saw the splash screen, we saw those types of things like that. In terms of time penalty to mount all those VHDs, we're talking milliseconds.
And another question. So you showed the use Notepad++ in your demo for packaging.
Yeah.
Let's say Notepad++ has a newer version that's released. Yeah. What's the process for updating?
Yeah, you can do 2 things. If Notepad is being consumed on the system, in which it will be now, I can clone the package, the existing package there. So let me refresh this real quick. So I can clone this package because right now I can't edit the package because I'm using the package, right? I can clone the package and I can call it, I can fix my typo if I wanted to. Or I can call it, ++2 and hit clone. So it'll duplicate that VHDX out there. I can make the changes that I need to make, update the application, extend the application, install plugins as I deem fit. When I'm done and I'm satisfied, in this case, I'm not actually going to install anything. All I really need to do is come back out to my configuration, open up my existing assignment of Notepad++. I'm going to drag this guy to the right-hand side. And I'm going to drag the one with the 2 over to it. Hit the save button, hit the update button, drop out my config, and then on the next login, they will pick up the new application.
Appreciate that. Any other questions?
Just a side note on that, that also works. So say I've rolled out a new version of Meditech and oh crap, it's broke. Mm-hmm. It's that easy what Johnny just showed there, just to go back, pull out the old version, or pull out the new version, put back in the old version, user logs back in, now they're back on the old version. I never touched the base image.
Yep.
I want to ask, do you have specific integrations with Patch My PC product or continuous upgrade delivery?
We don't have any explicit integrations with Patch My PC products, but feel free to test it with it.
Any other questions? I know we've got just a few more minutes left. I appreciate that demo, Johnny. I will jump back over here. Let me share my screen real quick. I know we got a few other, a few moments left. Feel free to still, if you have any questions that pop up, throw them in the chat window. We're still monitoring that. Just wanted to let me bring this up. Let's call out a couple of things real quick. If you guys are interested in POC, let us know. We can help you guys with that. Did want to cover very quickly roadmap, right? So we kind of spoke to this earlier. Some of the, again, the fact that you guys are constantly innovating, coming out with new features, functionality. What's coming out, right? What's some things that you guys specifically think is important that you guys see that, the attendees may be interested in? I mean, I see things like, post login support, additional way to layer, right? Having the packager with built-in OS rollback, some of these sort of things, but anything specific here that you guys think is pretty unique?
The ones that I find unique is the pre-cache block mapping, the pre-cache to make the large applications function faster. And the other things like post login support, more ways to get the app there, right? Right now it's like on login, on machine boot, etc. You can do a post login, drop the application on there, and those types of things.
And one of the big ones I'm looking forward to is the application cloaking. So imagine layer everything, and if it's a VDA multi-user machine, I can cloak it. When I log in, I see Chrome and only Chrome. Johnny logs in, he sees Firefox and only Firefox, but both of them are actually on the machine. Or even cloaking, Notepad++. It's in the base operating system. So the ability to cloak stuff that's there is, to me, going to be extremely powerful.
That use case would be when I am delivering a FlexApp as a system boot, correct? And then you would use the application cloaking so that
exactly. So maybe certain software licenses support this. So I install full Office Professional with Visio and Project, and then I cloak Visio and Project for everybody unless they're in a certain group. Depending on your Microsoft rep, sometimes they'll say, yes, that's acceptable, and sometimes they'll say no. But so check with your licensing department and the manufacturer of the application, because sometimes, I just need to bake that application into the base image, be done with it, and I just want to cloak it from people that don't need it.
About the FlexApp Packager API, is that for additional scripting integration?
It's additional PowerShell scripting and those types of mechanisms if folks are, into super duper automation and scripting out everything in the world.
Very cool, very cool. Like I said, you guys are constantly innovating, constantly adding new features, functionality, the ability to support both virtual desktops as well as physical desktops. And, there's no reason, there's no, no wonder you guys are kind of the leader in this field, right? As far as for application layering, application attaching. So with that, I don't know if there's any additional questions.
Randy, there was a question about recording. Are you going to be sending out a recording?
Yes. But you brought that up. So I will be sending this out. You guys can we will shoot this out to you guys a little later this evening. So you guys will have a copy of that. So you guys can always refer back to it. If there's any additional questions, feel free to definitely reach out. We'll be in touch with you guys as well. When we send out the recording, if you guys have any questions or wanting to follow up items, maybe a POC of Liquidware, FlexApp, or Profile Unity, or even the Stratosphere we spoke of, let us know. We can definitely engage with you. As well as, the other items, right? The complementary micro assessments as well. So with that, I guess if we don't have any other questions, definitely appreciate you guys joining me today, and a special thanks to the Liquidware team for joining me and
there is a question that popped up about isolation. Okay. So FlexApp isolation, our applications are full native. They're not actually bubbled. So the layers talk to the layers. If the layers trample the layers, they will kind of trample the layers. If you're overwriting like C program files, Microsoft Office, you can't write both times to C program files, Microsoft Office. We do micro isolations for DLL conflicts in little small portions of conflicts. It's not full isolation. Basically, when you're doing micro isolation, it says you need a DLL, I need a DLL, the system has this DLL. The service will say, okay, I will traffic cop who does what to who on the DLL. So the applications will all function. There's no like trampling of each other in terms of like, DLL conflicts like that. But if it's like I can't magically have it install Office 2013 and 2016 and have those things like that, because those do step on each other like no other.
Appreciate that, Johnny. Any other questions before we wrap up? Hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, I know you guys joined today specifically. There's some reason that you guys joined, whether it was just to learn more about Liquidware, or maybe you guys are having challenges today. Definitely, again, reach out either to your Zintegra rep or to Liquidware, and we can have some follow-up conversations if you guys are interested. So, again, thanks, Liquidware team. Great job.
Yep. Thanks, Randy and Zintegra for hosting this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Here. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend. Yep. Bye.